Oh, hello and welcome to What Are We Talking About with Jamie Jakes. I am him, and today I'm here to talk to you about New York Giants football sensation Tommy Cutlets DeVito. And basically what I wanted to do is figure out who the hell Tommy DeVito is. We all know that he's a quarterback for the Giants. We all know he's probably the coolest Italian in the NFL right now. But where did he come from? Is he for real? And did the whole NFL just totally miss on this guy? And how the heck did that happen? Because he appears to be at least somewhat competent as at least a backup quarterback for the NFL. So like you guys know, Tommy DeVito is the quarterback for the Giants. First, I thought it could be like a cool story, like he came in and won a couple of games, but now he's on this 3-game win streak with his only loss as a starter coming in his first start in the NFL against the Dallas Cowboys. Statistically, DeVito is averaging 6.8 yards per attempt, 8 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions on the season, which isn't ultra impressive in a vacuum. But when you take it into the context of being on the Giants and take it into the context of how Daniel Jones was doing leading up to his injury, Daniel Jones was averaging 5.7 yards per attempt, which is obviously significantly less than DeVito is on the same offense, essentially. And he had 2 touchdowns and 6 interceptions on the season. Daniel Jones, really, really disappointing coming off being signed to a massive contract extension. Kind of controversial at the time, even more so now, I would assume, for the Giants. Tommy also used his legs a little bit more in his last game. He had 10 carries for over 71 yards against the Packers. Of course, the Packers not great at stopping the run, but if you watch the game, a lot of design runs were built in for him, and he was able to scramble incredibly well for a couple of massive first down runs throughout the game. So after I saw that Packers win, I was like, this guy is too good to ignore. So I did a deep dive on how the YouTube community, the analyst community, the NFL scouting community maybe potentially missed on this guy, or maybe is the hype just a little bit too much. Maybe he doesn't have a track record, and we're seeing a little bit more like a flash in the pan, like maybe we saw with Josh Dobbs, the Pastronaut over there in Minnesota and Arizona this season. So I started all the way back. He played at Don Bosco Prep in high school, where he earned his junior season first team All-American honors. He led his team to some sort of state championship. Not exactly sure how those state championships work, but they had some state championship in the division that they were supposedly in. In his junior season, after his junior season, he committed to Syracuse, which was a little bit unusual. You usually like to see quarterbacks like this taking all the offers they can get and go to the place that's best for him. Tommy's like, no, I'm a Syracuse guy. I'm going to go play for Syracuse, even though he already had offers from teams like Boston College, Rutgers, and Maryland. So probably his best option at the time. Maybe it would have been better for him to wait a little while and see what other offers come in. But he decided to go to Syracuse. His senior season, he was invited to play for the Under Armour All-American game, where he did participate. He was redshirted his freshman year. His redshirt freshman season, his second season on campus, he served as a backup QB, where he was thrusted into the starting lineup against Florida State. And what did he do in that game? He completed 11 of 16 passes on short notice for 144 yards. That's very high yards per attempt. 2 touchdowns, 1 on the ground, 1 in the air. He then came in again to back up his starting quarterback, fill in for an injury against North Carolina, where he led Syracuse to a 40-37 double overtime victory, where he threw 3 touchdowns, 181 yards on only 19 attempts. Talk about moxie. This guy comes in as a redshirt freshman and performs extremely well in his first 2 games, not as a starter, as a backup coming in short notice. The following season, 2019, we are in now, he started as a redshirt sophomore, which shouldn't be ignored. He totaled 21 touchdowns and passed for over 2,300 600 yards. Now, where we're going to get into some issues here with this team is stats. Rushing wise, we've seen him rush incredibly well. He ran for 71 yards against the Packers last week. He ran a little bit against the Cowboys as well in his first start. In college, they count sacks as rushing yards. So if you look at his rushing yards, especially in his senior season, you'll notice it's really, really low, even though he has a lot of rushing touchdowns on his stat book. And I think that's because he was getting sacked a lot. We'll get to that in a little bit, more into the sack stuff. But he's never really been behind a great offensive line as far as I can tell. Now, here's where things really get interesting, okay? 2020 season, he suffers a season-ending leg injury in the 5th game of the season. The following season, he gets replaced by Garrett Schrader as starting quarterback for Syracuse. Syracuse, of course, known to make great decisions across the board for their amazing program that they've got over there. Just kidding. He entered the transfer portal. So this is the first time DeVito's kind of sticking up for himself and saying, I'm going to try and get myself into the best situation possible. He finds his way, unfortunately, the best situation possible was the Fighting Illini in Illinois, where he played his redshirt senior season there. He led the Fighting Illini to their first winning season since 2011, over 10 years ago, their last winning season. It was the first 8+ winning season since 2007, which is when I was in the 7th grade. I'm a little bit older now. That was a long ass time ago. Syracuse team, best offensive weapon on the team was the running back Chase Brown, who per PFS was graded the 9th best running back in the draft class. He didn't have very many targets to throw to. I assume he got sacked a lot. That information was not readily available to me. If you can find that information, I would really appreciate it if you put it in the comment section of this post. If you can dig that up, or just dig me up some more reliable statistics to how good or how bad that Illinois offensive line was for that season, that would be awesome and more important news for us to learn, because I'm kind of trying to pick out whether he really ever had the opportunity since high school, since his junior season of high school, where he played on a good football team. So Tommy applies for like a COVID year or whatever, doesn't get it, is forced to enter the NFL draft after his senior season. PFF puts out a 600+ page document, a PDF, that goes over every NFL prospect, where you get advanced analytics, advanced stats on all these players. I would have been able to dig up the stats. He was not featured on that 600-page document, where I think they cover over 20 quarterbacks each draft class. So he was not well respected. And part of it was his combine experience. He had a pretty poor combine experience. He had a 4.66 40 time, which now we're seeing him in pads run a lot faster than that. So I think that's another reason why he may have been kind of overlooked by us analysts at home and the draft analysts who get paid to do this for a living. DeVito was signed to the Giants, and then he was waived, and then he was re-signed back onto the practice squad, where he did his time there until Daniel Jones went out for the season, where he got elevated to play behind Tyrod Taylor. Surprise, surprise, who could have seen this coming? Tyrod Taylor gets injured. DeVito goes in to replace him for his NFL debut for a terrible Giants team, at the time, was still in the running for the first overall pick at the time. DeVito ended up scoring the Giants' only touchdown on the game with a 6-yard run. Now we're starting to see a pattern. This guy can run. He can run fast, and maybe a little bit faster than we saw in the combine, maybe a little bit faster than we saw him in college, where he was able to run with his feet a little bit. Is he for real, right? He then goes on to win 3 games in a row for this horrible Giants team, plays better than the franchise quarterback, Daniel Jones. The team seems to love to be behind this guy, and how could you not love his family and his agent on the sideline now that he's starting for this Giants team? I'm not entirely sold on him yet, but I am very, very interested. I'm excited to see what he produces in the NFL going forward, this could be like an awesome underdog story where a guy that just slipped through the cracks, had a bad injury his junior year in college and was forced to transfer to another not so great football team. And now maybe we're finally seeing his first opportunity with a competent head coach, which is also a massive piece of the puzzle. The whole Giants team seems to be operating a lot better at this point of the season. The Giants have the Saints in New Orleans, so it will be a road game for the rookie quarterback. I recommended on the Gambling Podcast, which you can listen to our full recap. We had 5 analysts breaking down this game, predicting it against the spread, the over-under, trying to make some money, potentially on Mr. DeVito or against Mr. DeVito. So you can check that out. I'll link that in the end of this video. So check out that preview. Do you think he is for real, Tommy DeVito? Do you think he's a flash in the pan? Leave a comment to that as well so we can take receipts a little bit later. Thank you guys. Please subscribe to the channel. My name's Jamie Jakes. Good night.